What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And a real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube or Rumble, please hit that subscribe button. And also, if you're listening to us on Spotify, iTunes, or any of your podcast platforms, please hit that follow and subscribe button. And so I can continue to bring you interviews like the one I'm about to right now, catching up with some old friends in the Cleveland music scene, the band Frayle. How you guys doing?
Hey, how are you?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. You guys have been making a lot of noise out there, so glad I get a chance to get some time to talk to you. But usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to go through a little bit of a timeline background. So originally, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Sean?
Probably wanted to fly jets because the air show is sweet. So that was probably wanted to be a pilot.
I wanted to be a nurse. I think that was my first thing. Ouch.
Nice. And then when was it, do you guys recall that you discovered music, and do you remember like the artist?
Yeah, I think my first tape I ever bought was a soft cell tape, and I think I bought it because the picture on the front was kind of spooky. But I mean, I love soft cell, so it ended up great. But I think the first song that really kind of picked me up and lifted me to a different spot and kind of carried me along to where I am now is Bauhaus, Bela Lugosi's Dead, which is actually why we decided to cover that a year or two ago.
Nice.
First CD I bought at the grocery store was Winger.
Nice.
Drastic contrast to Gwyn here. And then I went back like a month later and bought Cinderella, Long Cold Winter. That was sweet. And I still am a big fan of Cinderella. But that was just, you're in 6th grade and you're just buying stuff like whatever. But I think that the record that first got me going was I think The Cure, Disintegration, really made me think that there's something else out there other than the stuff that I was buying at the grocery store. And then got into Depeche Mode, and then later started getting into more heavy things like Crowbar and shit like that. So it's a mix of all those things.
And then when do you feel like the bug caught you that this was something you wanted to start doing yourself, creating music?
I remember I moved to Vermont right after high school because I wanted to snowboard for a living, I think, or just snowboard. I don't know if the living part was in there, but I wanted to snowboard, and I had a guitar and an amp there, and I found that I was really passionate about snowboarding, but just naturally I started becoming apparent that I was more passionate about music. So I moved back to Cleveland to start a band, and played with some of my friends for a year or two, and then got in this band that was already established called Disengage, and that was really kind of took off, or made me helped mold me into, I guess, more of what I am now, because that felt a lot more right in what I was into. So it took a lot of stumbling around, and then when I got in Disengage, I was like, okay, this sounds and feels right. And then I think Frayle is definitely a continuation of that sort of for the music side, anyways. Disengage.
I mean, for me, it was probably 5 years ago, and it wasn't really that I thought, oh, I need to do this. It was Sean thought I needed to do this. But I'm very glad he pushed me, because, now it's just so fulfilling, and it's just everything I never knew I wanted. We have cats everywhere.
There's
so
3 of them.
One's attacking my foot, and they might walk in front of the screen. So
Nice. Well, I mean, you seem so natural for just getting into it 5 years ago too. That's I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
And then, of course, I was a longtime Disengage fan, one of my favorite Cleveland bands. So love hitting you guys shows and stuff. In fact, Jason sent me a nice little Disengage care package when I was deployed in the Middle East and stuff. So that band will always have a special place in my heart.
That's awesome. Yeah, Disengage. I don't remember any of it because it sure was a lot of partying going on, but I think it was good fun.
And then, so when you were snowboarding and kind of playing guitar, but what attracted you to the guitar?
I started playing drums in middle school or something, and was kind of into it, and I had like Metallica drum books, and I bought wrestling shoes because I wanted to be like Lars, and did all the silly stuff you do when you're a kid. But it wasn't like, I don't know, just guitar felt better, I guess. And then because all my friends played guitar, I ended up playing bass just because we needed a bass player, and that's what I then played in Disengage. But I was always, I think, more interested in guitar. You can do a little bit more on it. So Frayle is kind of like the first time I get to play guitar after a lot of years of not playing guitar. But yeah, so I think it was just drums. I wanted melody, and if I was bummed, I had a hard time expressing that on drums. But if I was bummed, I could make a guitar sound like I was, bummed. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously, throughout the time, playing multiple instruments and now doing a lot of your own recording and stuff. What kind of, how did that transition go for you?
So I always had a 4-track, and I always had, I'd record Disengage practices or work on when we were demoing or whatever. And then I got really into it when we started going to studios and playing Disengage to make Disengage records. We would go to this studio called Mars in Cleveland, in Streetsboro. And Bill Korecki, the engineer there, I was just trying to learn everything I could from him. And I was really interested in microphones. And we got to record in Detroit, which there's probably the biggest company that sells high-end audio gear called, I'm blanking right now. Oh, crap. I have lots of credit card debt with them. Anyways, that company was started by the Nero brothers that owned the studio that we play with, or we recorded at in Detroit. And that was just filled with insane gear that like I've never seen before. So that experience with gear mixed with Korecki actually taking the time to talk me through how he's doing stuff, put those two together, and I had a passion for it, but then I went home and only had a 4-track, and then Pro Tools came out or whatever, it was accessible to everybody. So probably 15 years ago, I started getting into Pro Tools and understanding how a computer could make it work. And then over the years, build up a lot of okay gear, and then totally got out of music for like a long time, like maybe 7 or 8 years. I didn't touch anything. And then Gwyn bought me Logic for Christmas like 5 years ago, and it sparked everything again. And then so I had to go buy a whole bunch more gear. So it was kind of like one of those journeys that goes like that. There's a lot of peaks and valleys. And right now it's, just in the studio a couple minutes ago and upstairs on the 3rd floor of a house where we do all of our records. And it's taken a long time to learn how to make our stuff sound like the rest of the world. But I feel like we're, really in a good spot, to be able to have the luxury recording when we want. But then the outcome sounds, I think compete with just about any record out there.
Oh, I agree. And then, Gwyn, you just you said you just started doing this 5 years ago, which is still, still surprising to me. But what led you to vocals, and who's like some of your inspirations?
Sure. I think, my forever girl crush is always going to be Beth Gibbons. Like, her vocal styling just breaks my heart. Just listening to it just makes me want to cry. And Allison Shaw, the Cranes. She's another inspiration, more for the kind of breathy pushing up and over the vocal cord stuff that I do. But I think what got me into it, everybody wants to be a singer, right? Like everybody has that kind of.
Not me.
But so, I was kind of like, oh, that would be kind of cool, but whatever. I just kind of put it out of my head. And I played piano for, a number of years. So in music has always been extremely important to me. And it's always factored into my life in a big way. But Sean pushing me, I was scared to death. This is because it was kind of important, and because it is so personal. Not only the lyrics, which are insanely personal, but also just putting yourself out there. It's not an instrument. You can't blame it on your instrument, because you are your instrument. So if you fuck up or if you don't sound good, it's you, So I think, Sean pushing me to get past that fear was huge, and I'll forever thank him for that. Sometimes. Sometimes I want him to go away, but but you know, I think that was a big deal for me, that he pushed me and allowed me to do it. And then, you know, when we actually sold some stuff and people liked it, I mean, that blew my mind, you know.
Yeah, you're saying like how everybody, you know, wants to be the singer and stuff, and it's like in my head, man, I'm like the coolest frontman ever, you know. But when you put a mic in front of me, I'm like the frog from the old Bugs Bunny cartoons and stuff, you know. Just like I can't do it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, playing guitar or bass or whatever, like I can almost hide behind that. You know, I just have to make sure my fingers are in the right spot and make sure I'm moving around and the notes are on. But Gwyn, like, you know, you're singing, it's like
there's nothing to hide
anything
behind.
can make you get off pitch or do whatever, or waver, or like cough, or, you know, it's a whole different thing. So, you know, I think I never wanted to do that, you know, not for those reasons, but I learned those reasons later on after touring and understanding how hard it is on singers. And, you know, even recording, you know, you could do 8 hours straight on guitar, but try doing 8 hours straight of good vocals. It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Well, you touched on it a little bit too with, you know, that you were taking a break kind of from music and lost the love, I guess. And Gwyn re-inspired you with, I forget what the name of the album was that she got you.
Oh, Logic is recording software. It's like, instead of
okay.
It's Logic. You know, there's a couple of them, but Logic is like made for Macs. And so she got me that. Now that was super, I was into that.
So like, how did you guys like kind of come together and then decide to do this project?
Well, I think it just kind of happened naturally. Like we met in 2015, 2016, and we were kind of friends, but we were both in relationships. And then serendipitously, he broke up with his ex, and I broke up with my ex at pretty much the same time. And he just kind of texted me out of the blue saying, "Hey, what's up? I'm getting divorced." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I just literally broke up with my boyfriend like 3 weeks ago." So that kind of brought us together. I think you always know when there's like an attraction, but you know, you don't want to act on it, you know. But then just, I think, you know, I saw that music was very important to him, but he didn't have that outlet anymore, you know. Like he had his amp and he had his guitars, but he just really didn't have a dedicated spot for it. He, you know, so moving in together, we had the third floor of that apartment became the studio, and you know, I just let him do whatever the fuck he wanted to do up there, you know, just make noise, just not late at night.
Nice. And then so then Frayle starts coming together, and then like, well, let's talk a little bit about the name. What's the meaning behind the name of the band, and how'd you come up with that?
So we kicked around a couple of different names because names are tough. You know, a lot of words have been spoken for, you know, whether it's a band name or a title of a song or this or that. So it's really hard to find something that's new and ownable. And, you know, from broad brushstrokes, I'm always impressed when someone can get a small amount of letters, like a short word that no one's used before or something. So I was into that idea. I don't know what that was. And then also I like putting two words together that make up something new, you know, and the word, each word on its own might have been used a million times, but you put them together and it's an odd combination, it becomes something new. So when we were kicking ideas around, you know, I don't know why we had the word Frayle, but then we like the way you spell it normally. And then we kind of broke it apart and put it back together. And so one, we liked the word. Two, it was, you know, kind of Gwyn's approach to how she sings over like all the chaos of stuff, the music that's happening.
Right.
You know?
But it's also like, I think it's very fitting because, you know, the things I sing about, pain, sorrow, you know, it's when you're feeling frail. And like Sean mentioned, like the vocal delivery, as well as kind of frail and lilting over top of, you know, really heavy stuff. So I think that that was really important. And we also, as Sean kind of touched on, like taking apart a word and putting it back together. And even though it's broken, it's stronger now for having been broken and put back together.
Yeah, the way that we spell it now, to me, sounds more like armor or something. Like it just sounds stronger. And so, having that's the way we felt about it. So that's what that's the name we put out there, rather than calling it like Black Dragon or spookiness or something that's head on. We tried
bats.
Yeah, bats. That's it. Still up in the air.
Yeah.
Use that one for something else. So that's what it was. We kind of broke something and put it back together, and it just meant something to us. So that was good enough for us.
Nice. So it wasn't a wild night of Scrabble or something.
No, we were kicking it around for a while. I don't think it was an overnight thing, but
it's pretty close.
Yeah.
It was like when we happened upon it, it sounded right. Like, I'm a big lover of words, and I love the word frail and fragility. Like, those are both just such beautiful, like, melodic words in and of themselves. So
nice. So then this the project started coming together and forming, and at one point, in fact, I mentioned being over, getting that care package from Jason over in the Middle East. Well, I was over there. I met one of your early contributors, Frank Cavanaugh.
Yeah.
While we were over there, and so I saw he got to to work with you guys a little bit, and he's been a past guest on here, a longtime friend. How did that come to be, working with him originally?
So I've known Frank for a long time, met him through Disengage, and I always was a fan of like the earlier filter stuff. And when we decided, so Gwyn and I just started Frayle, the two of us, and then we put it on Bandcamp, and then within a week we had a label in Europe telling us that we had to go play festivals in Europe. So we're like, well, fuck, we need a band. So Frank was the first person I thought of on the bass because, one, he's played festivals before, and two, like, I get along really well. So he started out with the band, but then I think he couldn't go to Europe with us. So, he called and he's like, hey man, I just can't make it work. So we had to scramble and find another friend of mine, Eric Emzik, who's actually a drummer, then a guitar player. But if you can play guitar, you can probably play bass. So then he got into bass, and, he was with us for a while, and then Pat, our original drummer. But those guys have, normal
real lives,
jobs and kids and real lives. So, getting all that time off work to go to Europe or go on tour, they just, couldn't do it. It was kind of stretching them thin. So then now we got our current guys, John Vinson on drums, who's in Axioma, and then Jason Knotek on bass, who's also a guitar player, probably a much better guitar player than I am. But again, you play guitar, you can play bass. So we got those two guys, and they love to tour, and they're always down for it. So that's where we're right now. But yeah, Frank we still stay in touch with Frank, and it was like just couldn't get to Europe, and it's understandable. It's tough. Yeah. The older you get, the harder it is to just run away from one.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I've known Jason and John for a long time. In fact, you'll have to ask John to show you our secret handshake sometime. But he's working with those guys and seeing their passion, I think they're perfect fits. I'm glad that this was able to come together for you guys with them. And seeing them, get hit Europe and stuff like that with you guys. I've been kind of like watching on social media and following everybody's journey, and it's been really cool to see. So
yeah, it's exciting, and we get along really well. Like it's pretty low stress touring, and John is so quiet. We have a thing where we get in the van, and I'm always like, "Do we have John?" Because I'm usually driving, and I look back there because it's so quiet. And I was always just chilling. It's like the opposite of what I'm used to. Like with Disengage tours, it's a lot more chaotic. I guess it's pretty chill.
Yeah. John's definitely laid back, but a real good dude. And Jason, he's he's built for this. So
yeah,
I'm definitely happy to see them a part of it. And speaking of being able to have like a band to tour with and get out on the road, you guys just came off like a few big ones in the States with Cradle of Filth, and then I think Europe as well. You want to talk about those experiences?
So Cradle, we ended up we did a short tour in the spring on our own, and in the Northeast, like New England, and our PR set us up with a photo shoot with this amazing photographer, Jeremy Saffer, and he's shoots everybody in the world basically. He's like one of the big guys, and so we did a shoot with him and just started talking. And I'm kind of a camera nerd, and we started getting along. And Gwyn saw that he managed bands. And I was like, oh, we need a manager. So I started talking about it. He's like, well, no, you should get Dez to manage you, like the singer of Cold Chamber and Devil Driver, because that's who manages Jeremy Saffer. And we're like, oh, that sounds awesome, but how do we get a hold of him? So Jeremy sent an introduction. Dez and his wife Anastasia are amazing people. They fully believe in what we're doing, and it's awesome to have, to be able to work with people that believe in you. So he also manages Cradle of Filth, so he put that together for us, and it was an amazing experience. I mean, the band was great every night. Crowds were really into what we were doing. We were nervous at first because Cradle's like black metal, death metal, whatever, and we're not. But they really liked, Gwyn just embraced what she was doing and what we were putting out. So it was an incredible tour. I think we had 16 shows with them all over the U.S. and Canada. And then now we're going for November of this year, so in a month or so, we're in Europe for 3 weeks. And that's our own headlining tour. And then apparently Dez has some pretty big plans for us for 2023, although we don't fully know what they are yet.
Know what it is, but
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'd say you're definitely in good hands. And when I read that, I wanted to ask more about like how that came to be. You kind of explain it, but what's it been like, just sitting down and sharing your vision with him and talking with him and
He's
being under that tree, that learning tree.
I mean, he's something else. Like, he is a firecracker. Whatever he wants, he just goes for it. There's no stopping. He is, he's right there. And having someone like that on your side, just someone like that, is amazing. But then you add to that he's Dez Fafara. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Yeah, Fafara. And and his wife Anastasia, and oh my God, like it's been amazing. And he's been like Sean said, he's been just such a gift, to us when someone like that believes in you and what you're trying to say. It's just, there's no words.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it twice too. Like Cold Chamber, and then he did it again with Devil Driver. So you do it twice, dude knows what he's talking about. You know what's
going on, yeah.
Yeah. So that having that, just someone like that on your side to go fight for you has been awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, watching, like, going down the rabbit hole and kind of catching up on your guys' videos and stuff like that. It's just like I see, that. Why anybody wouldn't want to try and snatch that up. I mean, it's totally within his realm and of I don't know, you guys just got a great presentation and I really enjoyed is when you guys did that like live I don't know if it was during the pandemic, I think still or whatever, when you guys did that concert at our friend Eric Freeman's House of Wills.
Yeah.
You want to touch a little bit about how that came to be and that whole experience? So
Gwyn and I are big fans of Audio Tree Live. Like, they do a lot of really high production value videos, and it's usually 3 or 4 songs, sometimes 2, with bands that we really respect, like Chelsea Wolfe, Emma Ruth Rundle, Paul Bearer, and they put them in really, cool environments. Like older buildings. The sound is great. The lighting is really good. It's a single shot camera on a gimbal moving around, which is really, I think, awesome, because when you're doing quick cuts, things can get boring really fast. But there's something about a single guy at the gimbal moving in and out of the band that it stays interesting the whole time. It's almost like you're there watching him. So we love these shows, but we were like, no one's ever going to do an audio tree for us, so we have to do our own. So where can we do it? And, we started poking around and asking different churches that wouldn't get back to us and all that stuff. And then it was like, oh, House of Wills. Hey, Eric, it's John from Disengage. Would you be into this? He's like, fuck yeah, man. So and I went and checked it out. And, at the time when we were there, there was, the electricity was in certain areas, and in certain areas it wasn't. So we had to run 1 extension cord, I think, or maybe 2, to power everything, like all the recording gear, all the camera gear, and all the amps. And so that was a little sketchy. I'm sure we were pushing that breaker to the limit. But we made it work, and it was cold in there, which added to it. So, because you can see Gwyn's breath sometimes. And, we had every piece of musical gear and camera gear that we owned in there. And then my friend Damien shot it. And anytime we do any video where I'm not behind the camera, which I usually, shoot all the other stuff that we do. But when I need to be on camera than Damien is running around with a gimbal shooting us.
And it was interesting because, you know, you hear that it's a very haunted spot and stuff like that. But, I mean, things happened, you know, like full batteries went dead. Drones fly off and, you know, kind of, so it was kind of an interesting experience in that sense as well. I think Pat and Eric were a little creeped out.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that
Something was
building
going
had
on, yeah.
personality.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, it was interesting. We're really happy we did it. And,
yeah.
you know, as soon as I got back, I remember, you know, because I didn't see we saw a little bit of the footage through the camera, but I didn't see it with all the, you know, the final version. As soon as I got home and turned on, you know, everything I was going to do to it, I was like, holy fuck, does this look good? I can't believe this is us. And Eric engineered the whole thing, you know, set up the mics and everything because I was so busy setting up lights. And so it all just came together, you know, all of us using the best of our abilities that we had to make that happen. So we're really fortunate the way it came out. And people, like, we were in Europe the last time we were there, you know, a year ago, and the photographer, one of the photographers I really respect over there, who was shooting Desert Fest, which was a big fest that we did, you know, he stopped me in the hallway of this fest that had, you know, there's probably 10,000, I don't know how many people, thousands of people here. And he stopped me and he's like, hey man, I know you're in Frayle, and I just want to tell you that the lighting in that video is amazing. And I was
That
like,
just made
what?
it.
You noticed?
You
He's
like
like,
it?
yeah, those 4 vertical things you have in the back. Like, he was just kind of talking technical lighting stuff with me. It made me so happy. So,
No, it was amazing. I've been inside there myself, and there's definitely an energy where it's just like, I felt like I needed to go like bathe in holy water or something when I got home or whatever. But I really liked the drone footage too. When you guys like are coming up the front of it and everything. I just thought the whole thing came out good, and it's great publicity for Eric and his tours and stuff. So
yeah, hope
win-win.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
some people there. I mean, so the drone worked on the outside, but as soon as the drone got on the inside, because we wanted to fly it on there, it would not cooperate. Like, the spirits were playing ping pong with it.
Yeah, that's crazy too, because you got that area where you guys are playing at that's wide open where it could have flew, and
We tried.
Yeah,
we tried. It just didn't work.
Nice. So you know, you guys got the new album coming out September 23rd here shortly on Aqualam Records, your LP, Skin and Sorrow. What's the inspiration behind that title?
So during COVID, I think a lot of us had a lot of loss, and I lost someone very close to me, and watching them pass, you know, it's the same old thing every day, but it's also new every day. And it was crazy. So you feel hollow, and you feel like all that's left of you is skin and sorrow. So that's where the title came from. The song and Perfect Wound were written, I think, you know, the day after, the night of, you know, someone passing, and it's very raw. And, you know, there's a couple of lines in Perfect Wound that just, you know, break my heart even to this day. So I don't think we'll ever sing them. I don't think I'll ever do them live. I don't think I could, but, you know, maybe with time and distance, I'll be able to do it. But right now I can't.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, and during that time too, it's like, you know, I mean, I lost quite a few people too. And then there was no closure because we weren't even allowed to get together and mourn them, you know? Yeah. And that was, man, that was extremely tough too.
It's tough. Yeah.
And then, like throughout the rest of the album, is there any other kind of like message that you're sending or hoping that people get from this?
I think the overwhelming one is, you know, just when you're going through something really tough, put on this album, and like always, I just kind of hope that it can create some kind of sanctuary for you if you're going through something. You know, I want you to be able to listen to it and break down and cry and be sad so that you can work through it and get to the other side. You know, sometimes you just want to be sad. You know, sometimes you just want to feel down, and that's okay. You can visit you shouldn't live there, but you can visit. And,
Yeah.
you know, I just want to make a safe space where you can just do all that, you know, hopefully it helps somebody, you know.
I agree. It helps. It's part of the process. You know, it's like in the military, they just told us throw some dirt on it and go on. And that's just not sustainable out in the real world. So it's like, you know, when I couldn't go to, I mean, one of the people that I lost that died during that time was somebody I'd served with. They were like a brother, you know, and I couldn't go mourn. So I had to mourn here by myself, you know, and,
I'm sorry.
you know, luckily when things opened back up, a bunch of us came from the unit, got together, you know, but, yeah, I just can't imagine. Like I started looking at all the things, especially that was going on with the nursing homes with like the elderly and all that. And that was like really heartbreaking, but I was almost like grateful that my dad passed in like 2018, you know, because there was times we had to put him in one of those. And I can't imagine what he would have had to have gone through, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's stuff gets heavy, and you can't just, like you said, you can't just throw dirt on it. You know, that's toxic positivity. You have to be able to get through the dark stuff to get to the light. So
Exactly. And then, so you look at this as like, kind of like this album is a therapy session for people to kind of help process.
I would hope so. Like for me, it was a catharsis. I hope that it can provide something like that to somebody out there, you know, so that you can just put it on and feel your feelings, and so that you can truly get to the other side.
And I know this is a tough one to ask musicians, especially, but you know, putting this album together, playing the music and stuff, Sean, is there a favorite child that you have from this album that you're like enjoy playing the most and look forward to sharing with your fans?
So we've only played 2 or 3 of them live so far. We're starting to play another new one that we'll have. We have a show this weekend at a festival in Indianapolis that we're going to play it, and then we'll play it at the record release. I don't know. They're all about the same to me, playing them, because I try to find, like, everything's like a release for me, you know, like physically, just like it's like therapy without talking, I guess.
Yeah.
I always try to find a way to make each one of those songs act in that manner. You know, I don't know if there's one that is more of a release for me, because again, I try to, you know, get them all to behave in a certain way or look at them a certain way, so that, you know, it's like that for me. And really, that's, I would say, my favorite songs to play are the ones that allow me that release. It's not so much about, oh, I'm a shredder on this one, or I look cool on this. It's nothing to do with that. It's like, it's so much more personal, I guess, for me. So I don't know if I have a favorite one to play. Now, the way they turned out, I really like the song Bright Eyes, which is like the last single that we released. That was a collaboration with this dude that I met on Instagram. He just makes little like riff sketches, and the main chorus riff for Bright Eyes, he wrote that, and I saw it on Instagram. And I was like, holy shit, you know, Gwyn, look at this like riff. I doesn't sound like Frayle, but there's just something about it that's like speaking to me. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, would you be into collaborating on a song? And he said yes. So, you know, he's got the chorus, and then we wrote the verse and the bridge and all that. And then Gwyn did all the vocals on it, and, you know, the lyrics and the melody. So it's a Frayle song, but it's like more refreshing, I guess. So I think I'm interested in that one the most, because it's like refreshing, because I didn't write every single part of it, because that stuff to me sounds a little, just personally, like I know that what you know, it came out of me, so therefore listening to it is kind of like not as cool as when there's someone else that has input on it. And I think that on this next record moving forward, I think, you know, we're trying to get John and Jason to have a lot of input on the newer stuff as well. So I really like Bright Eyes. There's a song Epic Hack, and again, the old bass player Eric, he wrote I think it's the verse riff, and I really like the verse. So I seem to like things that I don't write.
Nice. Yeah, and John and Jason will definitely be you know, able to contribute quite a bit, man. I'm looking forward to that collaboration as well. And then speaking of Bright Eyes, you know, I was checking out the video, and a lot of that scenery looked familiar. You want to talk a little bit about the making of that video and like the locations that you guys picked?
Yeah. So again, Instagram. we knew we needed to make a video for Bright Eyes. We didn't really know what to do with it. And I saw this girl, like, you know, because I think I follow the hashtag Salem. And I saw this girl roller skating at a skate park in Salem. And I was like, that's a weird combination. Why is she tagging Salem? Is she into like spooky shit? So then I went to her page, and then there's like a picture of her laying on her back, I think, or maybe she just had records on it in a pentagram. And one of the records was like Sunny Day Real Estate. And I was like, so she's spooky, but she likes this emo band that I like from the 90s. So this is pretty interesting. So what if we had a roller skater in a Frayle video? And Gwyn was like, what do you mean? Like, this is not like this at all. I'm like, no, it'd be cool. Trust me. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, we're going to be on tour in Salem. We have a day off. Would you be into just roller skating through the streets of Salem, singing one of our songs, wearing headphones? And she was like, sure. You know, sounds good. And then so we needed something for the other verse, and we were in New York playing a show, and there's this girl on Instagram, Grimber is her handle on Instagram, and it's someone that Gwyn and I have followed for a while because we love her aesthetic and all the photo shoots she does and everything, and Gwyn really likes her style. So we asked her to do the same thing. So she's representing New York on the verse 2, and then verse 1 is, you know, Hazley skating through Salem. And I really thought that first image of her rolling past what they call the witch house in Salem, which is actually owned by one of the judges that helped put some people to death in Salem. So having a goth roller skater listening to the devil's music, carefree, skate past his house is kind of like a big middle finger to persecution to me. So
Nice.
that all came together. And then we shot the live stuff here in Cleveland at the Masonic Temple, which they let us shoot there for free. Fucking crazy.
Yeah,
like,
so cool.
messaged them, and the dude was like, oh man, I know what it's like to be in bands and you're local. I was like, yeah. He's like, it's gonna be for free. And I was like, for real? Totally take that place over for a day and fog it up. And
They gave us a tour.
Yeah,
it was kind of cool.
it was awesome.
Yeah.
So that video everything was kind of serendipitous, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really well done video. Like all your videos. I mean, they seem like short films, you know, and the quality of the work is you know, I mean, what type of equipment are you guys using?
What don't we use? So I bought, when we started Frayle, I had like a normal DSLR camera, which is just like what you take photos with. And a lot of times those cameras can take 1080p video at 24 frames a second, which makes it kind of look like a movie, but not really. So we did the first few Frayle videos like that. And I just saw that technology and, you know, was so attainable, and other people that, you know, had the same maybe skill set, their stuff looked a lot better because of, you know, a cinema camera. They had a cinema camera because those were a thing now. And so I did some reading up on what to get. So I got this Black Magic camera that shoots at 24 frames a second and shoots at 4K. And then it also shoots really good slow-mo because I'm really a big fan of slow motion. I think it makes anything look legit. So I got that, and then I started learning about lighting and things like that, and would love to buy a lot more gear, but Gwyn has a quota on what I could buy. So, I have just probably as much guitar gear as camera gear. So, you know, the technology is just so crazy that you can buy for, I mean, if you had $5,000, you can make a movie look like movies on Netflix. And that's insane because just 10 years ago, it would have been $500,000 probably to get a camera that could shoot like that, and the lighting, and to be able to control the lighting in a way that you can now do it like on your phone. So I can hold a camera and a gimbal. My daughter can step on the button of the fog machine that's a low-lying fogger because it has ice in it. And then she can also, on my phone, move the lights up and down. And these are legit cinema lights moving, you know, getting hotter, colder, changing temperature, the intensity. So all the stuff you can do through your phone now that you couldn't do, like I said, 10 years ago, you need a whole movie crew. So I'm really interested in that. And the same thing with recording technology too. It's just so accessible now. So I'm into putting both of those things together. And during the pandemic, when you couldn't tour, which is really your best way to gain new fans, the second best way is videos. So we invested heavily in that. And, you know, Gwyn loves putting outfits together. She makes a new dress for every single show because we both have an apparel background. So like all the way that she looks is all her, but the lights and everything, that's my job. But she usually comes up with a lot of the ideas for videos too. I mean, I think I had the roller skater, but everything else where it's like spooky, that's all
Nice. You guys, well, you make a great combo, man. It's a lot of good stuff. And so with the videos, are you doing all the editing and everything yourself as well? Have you self-taught?
Yep. Self-taught, just from, I think I learned on an early Disengage video. We had someone else shoot it and then they edited it, but it wasn't synced up. It just was like, oh, this looks cool. But I'm like, well, if you're in a band, you know what it feels like. And to me, it feels fake. So I learned how to edit back then. And then the stuff that we do now, I, edit all that too. And I'm really interested in like filmmaking, and, there's certain cinematographers that I look at almost like bands, because I feel like they're doing it from the waist down, so to speak. And that's how I try to write, music and, my side of it anyways. It's like less thinking and more fucking brawn, I guess. Brawn over brains. I don't know if that, like, I saw it written on the wall one time at a club. So it said, number one, if your guitar is above your waist, do not go on stage.
Right. I saw that.
And number two, oh no, the waist down I got from a guy that was mixing us. Chris Coltay in Detroit. He was like, that dude mixes from the waist down. And I was like, what? It's awesome. It's kind of like young guy shit, I guess.
Okay.
But anyways, that's
nice. And then, like, what programs do you use to edit the films?
So it's all DaVinci. There's this company, Blackmagic, that makes the camera, and they have a format that you can shoot 4K in called Blackmagic RAW. And then DaVinci Resolve is made by Blackmagic. It can read that raw footage really well, so that you don't need a bajillion-dollar computer to handle 4K images. Raw files give you the flexibility to change any color, any amount of contrast, any exposure. So as long as you're shooting relatively in the middle of not under or overexposing, you can do whatever you want with the footage. And sometimes that'll slow a computer down, shooting 4K files. These are huge terabyte files of, footage. So I wanted a system that kind of worked together. Actually stumbled into it just because the camera was affordable. I think the camera's like $1,000, which is insane that you can buy a cinema camera for that. And just by luck, Blackmagic RAW is my favorite format to shoot in. And the DaVinci Resolve came free with the camera. So that read everything correctly. And if I would have tried to go into like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut, it would be jittery and it wouldn't read everything the right way. So I stumbled and lucked into a system that all kind of works together. Because once you get into 4K and big files, it can get really complicated and messy on picking which codec to use and blah, blah, blah. This is all nerd stuff.
Oh, well, no, that's good to know, because I'm always looking to save some money myself and learn new things so I'd like to look into that. We filmed a few things over at Frank's before. Me and I don't know if you remember Flo White.
Oh yeah,
do like some parody stuff, and it looks amateur as hell. So we could use an upgrade.
It's cameras and lighting. Yeah, you have to spend almost more on lighting than you do on cameras to make it really look legit. Like us right now, we blend into the background and we should be backlit. Gwyn has in her contract that she can only work with like 6-foot soft boxes. So you need all this like shit to really make it work. But then once you get really into it, movies will start being ruined for you. Like the new Lord of the Rings the series on Amazon is ruined for me because they're overexposing the backgrounds and the top lights are too harsh. But then you look at like Game of Thrones and it's more natural, and I love it. So it'll if you go down that rabbit hole, you might get some shows ruined for you.
Nice. And you touched on it a little bit, but Gwyn, let's talk about your the fashion and the outfits and stuff that you come up with for your videos, and like inspiration behind those.
Yeah, I think mostly like when we do a tour, it's me thinking, okay, what do I want to portray? What do I want to for me, it's kind of an extension of the music for me. So I really kind of put some thought into what I'm trying to say with it. And then I buy a lot of stuff. I make a lot of stuff, but it's just, it truly is like just trying to extend my voice, I guess, through what I'm wearing and able to say, like, crowns of thorns and face harnesses and shit like that. I mean, that just kind of represents, repression and pain. And so for me, it's just kind of, anything I can do to kind of cement that as an artist. I want to get my point across, and to me, that helps. Nice.
No, it definitely adds, and makes, hypnotizes almost, like you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? What's going on? And then your voice, of course, lures you in, and you're like, uh-oh, don't follow her into the woods.
Whatever you're into.
But speaking of which, there was that one video, I forget what it was. There's some drone footage, and you're like kind of like walking in the snow and making like a trail, and then making kind of like a pentagram. What I forget what that was for again, but I thought that was a really cool visual.
We wanted to do a making of the record and just kind of explain some stuff about what lyrically went into it, and where we're from, and establish our location, I guess, a little bit, and how it inspires what we do. So what better way than to fly a drone around Cleveland Heights? So I just had Gwyn, like, we live right by the Shaker Lakes. They're like a quarter mile away from us. So we just walked over there, and
there's a big patch of undisturbed snow. So I'm like, I'm gonna make a pentagram here.
Yeah. I didn't even know he was doing that until I had the drone up in the air. I'm looking at the footage. I'm like, what? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Some randos just walked over there and
and be like, what is going on? Yeah.
And you had the outfit on and everything too, so it's just like kind of like added to it.
Well, she dresses like this all the time. I mean, if we go anywhere, it's like this is Gwyn.
Nice. And then I mean, a lot has been going on. I've been seeing your guys' name now all over the place. I get the emails and stuff. So it does sound like 2023 is going to be huge for you guys, especially with Dez helping out. But what kind of personal goals do you guys have going forward?
It's a good question.
Yeah, you go first.
So I've from the beginning, I've always said that I just wanted Frayle to be part of the conversation when people that we don't know are discussing music that they're into, and that conversation includes bands that we respect, right? So if like strangers are talking about us in the same sentence or paragraph or posts as like Chelsea Wolfe, Emma Ruth Rundle, Sleep, any of these bands that we respect, if we're in that conversation, that's like, holy shit, then we did it, as far as I'm concerned. Now I think that's kind of starting to happen, which is really rewarding because it feels like it legitimizes all the effort and work that we put into this. And so the Cradle tour that we just did, like, we ended up in the black and the positive after that one. So we want to continue to be able to hit the road and have that happen, because as an up and coming band, that rarely ever happens. Like we're still paying off the last time we went to Europe. So we're hoping that this Europe tour is, we'll see some growth, because it's scary right now to, the machine that used to exist to push new bands doesn't exist anymore. So it's almost organic, and every band success story is drastically different. And we're not going to be a TikTok sensation because we're not making goofy videos. So we have to do it like the old school way. So I think our personal goal is to just keep continuing the growth and be able to go on the road and see new parts of the world and have it be, an experience that's like in the black and positive and doesn't hurt us financially, I guess.
Yeah, it is. I've discovered that I really like touring. I mean, I think if you asked Sean, he would have bet against that.
Oh yeah.
But I really love it. And I mean, like, going up on the stages and singing is great, but I just love everything about it. I love the prep. I love putting together the merch. I love putting together the outfits. I love getting everything ready and meeting the people and hanging out after the show. I love everything about it. As a musician, it's just a high, so when you get off, you're in. I love that I can do it with Sean, because we can go back to the hotel and we talk about it until we fall asleep. So it's amazing. I love touring. So I want to do more of that.
We don't, neither of us drink. So it's like the old party days of getting wasted at a show. Like, we don't do that. So we actually get to enjoy the whole experience. And then like our highlight is like going home and eating snacks
and talking.
Yeah. So it's like that part isn't so wild, but the shows, we remember them all. And seeing, like, touring with Cradle was awesome, because it, like, it's like the machine of, like, they had their own lighting and sound and guitar techs, and just that, like, how it was like have a family that toured, and everyone's one goal was to put the best show possible. And you're able to do so much more when you have that kind of environment of lighting and sound. And right now, Jason in our band, like, he's a big proponent of lights and fog. And I mean, I love fog anyways, but so we have a light rig that hooks into our backing, and John's drums are, have LEDs in them, and they're kind of blinking with the music. And so we're starting to tie it all together, but we're still self-sufficient. So there's limits to what you can do with that. So I think that it would also be really cool to get to a point where we can travel with our own sound guy and our own lighting. And, then the whole experience is so much more. What you're doing is amplified by lighting and sound, I think. And that's so important, and something that I think a lot of bands, at least, Disengage, we never cared about that. But I think there's a lot to thinking
it makes
about.
it more memorable. Yeah.
Sure. Because it's all about the impact you have on the audience. And I think you can have a greater impact with lighting and sound that's just blowing their mind.
Can you see this guy?
No.
Yeah, agree. And one of Jason's most recent projects before jumping on with you guys, Tomorrow's Ghosts, they had an amazing stage show with the lights and the fog and everything. So
and
you can definitely contribute to that.
We're only a fraction of that because Jason owns so much lighting gear, and what we brought on the Frayle tour was just like a fifth of it, a quarter of it. I don't know, not very much of it, because he's got all this stuff that we wanted to bring to the grog, but the grog can't have fog because of their sprinklers are tied in with the other businesses around them. So if you set it off, every business floods, and so it's kind of a bummer. But we're really loved it, go crazy in the fog. And Jay, when he plays, actually has the trigger for the fog on his keychain. So between songs or during songs, he's hitting more fog because there's never enough. And a lot of venues, when you say fog it up, their idea of foggy isn't the same as ours. Like, I want it to be basically like Sun O, where you can't even see where you are. So because lights look cool, and then if Gwyn has lights in her headgear, it's like she's like, what the fuck's going on with that? We're really into that. So I think we're maturing as far as like how we understand presentation.
Yeah, and then you mentioned, you guys don't drink anymore, so you can actually, process everything now. And it's like it's amazing because I've been such a music fan and hitting local shows for I don't know how many years, and now it's just like I'm 13 years sober now, and it's just like, wow, it's like, there's some bands where I was just like, man, I used to really be into these guys, I hear them sober now, and then there's bands that I'm just like every little nuance I'm like picking up on, and I'm just like enjoying the energy, and then I'm able to talk about it, and I'm remembering the conversations I have with people that are with me at the shows now. It's a great experience, man.
It's so much better. Congrats on 13 years.
Yes,
that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, because you said you don't remember much of the Disengage days, and neither do I, other than when I hear the CDs and remember the package that Jason sent me. And I remember some of the stage show and stuff, but yeah, it's much better to see it, and with sober eyes these days.
I saw we played one of the first shows we did at Cradle. There was a local support, and they were, probably in their 20s, and so excited to be at that show, opening and playing for that many people. And I remember being in Disengage in the early days when we, get these bigger opening shows, and I was so new. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And you get so drunk and you black out and you be an idiot and you forget everything. And we watched this band do the same thing. Like, they got there, were so excited and all eager to play. And then as the night went on, more drunk, there might've been a fight. They had to carry someone out. And like, these kids just like, in my opinion, ruined the whole experience that they had, because they might think, oh, it was crazy and we raged, but like, that's like the surface of it. And they just don't get all the good bits out of what could have came from that night. And that was me. I was that guy rocking the roof of the van down Sunset in Hollywood. And like, what are you doing? Like, why?
And how much of that's probably like anxiety and stuff, like, because like, wow, we're here, and it's like, we want to talk the tough talk, but it's like, man, I'm scared shitless right now, so I'm just going to keep numbing out,
100%. That's all it was to deal with anxiety. And like, entire relationships and a decade of my life was built on that, like numbing anxiety, and now it was hard as shit to go the first couple shows we went to sober. I mean, not for her, but for me, I was just like, what the fuck do I do? I'm in a big show. I can't, and you can't go to the bar. It's like, it was so tough to go through that. And one of the first shows was at the Opera House in Toronto. We went to go see Chelsea Wolfe, and I basically lost my mind because I was the anxiety was like on 20. And then we actually played the Opera House on the Cradle tour, and I made Gwyn and I go stand in the place where I was, like, 5 years ago or 4 years ago, and be, first sober show, and be like, look how far we've come since like being here. And honestly, if I was still drinking, Frayle wouldn't, I don't think, be a thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like working through that anxiety, like you said, getting used to doing it without the crutch and the numbing and stuff like that. I mean, I do this podcast almost as therapy for me, because it's like I still got so much social anxiety when I get out in front of people and just having normal conversations, that I'm like, I just got to do this more regularly. So even though we're not like face to face, I mean, it's still like, this has helped me grow outside, and just getting out there and doing it, facing our fears and getting out of our comfort zone.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's really good. I think you need an outlet too, right? Like once you stop drinking, you have all this energy that used to just get wasted into the ether, and now it has to go somewhere. And that's why I started playing music again. And that's probably the podcast for you is one of those, outlets for you,
Oh yeah, for sure. It's better than all the junk I was eating and putting on weight. So
yeah,
replacement. So
Right.
between this and then jujitsu, this has been a great
oh, that's awesome.
Great outlets.
So do you beat up Trevor Moment in jiu-jitsu?
No, but he's come to our gym and I've rolled with him a couple times. He's on another level. I'm still kind of low, but he's part of the reason why I got into it. Watching his journey. I remember him as the big Elvis looking dude at the fantasy.
Yep.
Throwing people out and stuff, and then just seeing his transformation, and then Ray Terry. I don't know if you remember Ray Terry. Yeah, he runs the gym that we train at.
Oh, that's so everyone in the old band days can all kick my ass now. That's great.
Yeah, and actually, his band Kill the Falls getting ready to come back together and play out too. So I'm helping them with that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's like we find different outlets.
Yeah,
I find healthier ones, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you guys have found your outlet. It's definitely been awesome to watch, and I can't wait to see what 2023 has in store for you guys. Before we get ready to wrap up, you mind if I ask you some of the questions I normally ask my guests?
Oh, go for it.
So is there, you mentioned, some of the bands that have inspired you, but this is always a tough one, but who's your top three?
Portishead, Chelsea Wolf, King Woman.
Nice.
This is really hard. Deftones, probably Chelsea Wolf, and it's a tie between Sleep and Crowbar. Sorry, there's four.
Nice. Yeah, the third's always the toughest because you don't want to leave somebody out.
Yeah.
And then, is there a particular song that is a regular on your playlist that, like, we talk about some of the rough times we've been through, and we needed some, like, you're hoping some of this new album will help others. Is there a song out there for you that helps you through some rough times?
For me, Dummy by Portishead is the soundtrack to my melancholy. So that was always the one that I'd put on. And it was like a trigger. It's like I put that on and immediately I'd just kind of fall into stuff. So that for me was definitely always the one that hit the right spot.
There's like two, I think, like probably right now there's a song, I think it's called In the Valley by Emma Ruth Rundle, or maybe it's just The Valley by Emma Ruth Rundle and Thou. And I'm not even sure what it's about because I don't really get into like lyrics telling me what to do. It's more about a vibe of a song, and then I feel my own stuff. But I think that one is like a really good song for me right now. I think for the past year or two since it came out, I think that musically it pushes the idea of what I think doom and what we do in our genre is. And two, it's a mixing also of someone else mixing kind of like a really pretty girl voiceover, insane sludgy riffs, which just makes a lot of sense to me right now at this stage in life. So yeah, I'm really into, I think it's called The Valley by Emma Ruth Rundle and Thou.
Nice. And what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
Finances.
I was going to say something with money because I
Dear
failed
Lord.
that one.
Yeah. Teach these kids how to manage their money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably money. I think there's also, I wish there was a class that could at least touch on how to bridge the disconnect between what they see on their phones and how to be an adult and make a living. Like, I wish there was a bridge. I don't know what that class is called, but I feel like so many kids now are inspired by what they see on their phones. And the myth of making it is even harder to attain or achieve now, whether that's restaurants or music or acting, whatever, because all these, I think a lot of kids are inspired by what they see on their phones. And how do you make that become real? I wish there was some connector dots. I don't know, whatever. So I think that'd be great.
Yeah, like the social media influencers that, suddenly like have all these followers and they think followers equal like, a steady income, and yeah, I got 2 daughters that, I gotta work with on that quite a bit. But that's the other blessings of being sober now. We're actually going to go hit a show together tonight, so.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
awesome.
How old are your daughters?
21 and 18 now. So my youngest just graduated high school, so I'm able to get out again.
Yeah. Are they into the same kind of stuff you're into, or are you going to see a show that they like, or like how does that work?
Well, actually, the band we're going to see tonight, neither of us have seen yet. I just happen to become friends with a member of the band, and he's kind of like, they see more poppy like my girls would be into. So we're just kind of like, all right, we're coming as guests and we're going to, just enjoy the time together. But yeah, there's some bands that we've gotten into together. But like last night, my oldest was in Cincinnati for Jack Harlow or something like that or whatever, and drove home from that. So she's like almost like dollar bill in the making. And I'm trying to prevent that from happening. Cause now that she's 21, getting out there, I don't learn from my mistakes, enjoy this stuff sober, because it's opened up so many doors and so many real true friendships and relationships in the music industry now too, that before were just like, put me on the guest list, I'll drink half your beer rider, and then you don't want me around.
Yeah. We're going to tell some stupid stories that don't mean much, but will be wasted. So they mean a lot. And then you go back into the same environments and you're like, that didn't mean shit.
Yeah. But it's just, we're into kind of some similar stuff, but a lot of different stuff. But it's just, for me, it's just like daddy-daughter time. I don't get it as often as I used to. So try and enjoy it, while I can.
My daughter won't go to, she's 11. She won't get any shows. Like she's not into what I'm doing at all. Hope maybe that'll change, maybe not. But we found that roller coasters are our thing that we have. So we go on a lot of roller coasters, like Cedar Point together.
Nice. Yeah, maybe I'll bring my girls to check you guys out sometime. I think they'd enjoy it.
Maybe they'll think you're cool for doing it.
Yeah. Get those cool points. And then who are 3 people who've inspired you or you can credit for making you the person you are today?
My mom, my aunt, and Sean.
Oh. Yeah, Gwyn's one of my 3. For sure, because I was a train wreck one. So yeah, I'd say Gwyn, my daughter, and tough one. I don't know. I can't think of any adults that have like that I respect. I'm kind of an asshole. So yeah, I'll just say with Gwyn and my daughter. I can't pick a third right now.
I tell you what, man, daughters, being a dad of daughters has definitely been a, the life-changing experience from, the kind of guy I was before to, the kind of guy I want to be, because there's that saying that girls kind of look for somebody that reminds them of their dad, and I don't want them nowhere near the guy that was, hitting the shows back in the day, so every day I just try and keep being better and, learn to listen more than preach, Yeah,
it's the best job you'll ever have as a dad.
Oh yeah. Everything I've done in the military, anything I've done in college, even this right here, the biggest, the best title for me has just been being a dad, to my girls.
Yeah, same, man. That's awesome.
And then is there any causes or organizations that you guys support and encourage others to check out?
For me, animals are like my big passion. So anything that supports animal rights. I actually have a friend who works for the Humane Society in Canada, and they're making leaps and bounds with new laws and legalities around animal rights. So I think that's huge. But I think, we can do a lot more and know that, they are sentient beings. You got to treat them as such.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I mean, we have 3 cats. 2 of them we rescued from the ASPCA, is that
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 of them we rescued from a parking lot because it was under a truck.
Wow.
Well, yeah, that's been pretty, eye-opening, I guess, and the work that those organizations do. I think that animals are at the mercy of how we treat them, and I think that's important. I think. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else that we actively support, right now. I'm sure there's some kind of music thing that we are into, but I can't think of it right now. So just because she's holding our cat that we rescued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of a dog person myself, but I love animals regardless, but yeah, my dog, he's always happy to see me when I come home. He's not asking for money. My buddy had a good saying one time about, the loyalty of dogs. If you throw your wife and your dog in the trunk of your car and drive around for hours and then open the trunk, which one's going to be happy to see you?
Right.
That's awesome. And I think I'm a dog person too, but with Gwyn, it wasn't in the cards because she's a cat person more than I'm a dog person. So I'd rather have a dog. If I'm scared to go in the basement, he'll go first. But the cats, they won't do that. And they're not necessarily happy to see me.
Nice. And then favorite toy as a child?
G.I. Joe aircraft carrier.
Oh boy, that was that.
Fucking sweet.
I had this thing called Big Mouth Singers, which was like a little keyboard thing that you push, and there were like little round. They look kind of like the Canadians on
South Park.
Where like, it would just open, like half their head would just open.
Do you think that's where that's from?
Maybe.
Because I haven't heard of. Have you heard of Big Mouth Singers, the toy?
No, I never have.
Canadian. Yeah,
Canadian,
she's from Canada,
yeah.
So that's probably a Canadian thing. That's maybe where it came from.
Maybe.
You discovered something on your podcast.
Nice, and that's probably where Trey and Matt got the idea, right?
I mean, yeah,
Right.
that's what I was asking where it came from, like where they got the idea from that.
We just discovered that here on this conversation. Awesome.
Any other problems you need solved, just let us know.
You're right.
And then any message that you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, gosh, you guys are the heart of the country, thank you so much for everything. Oh, that was another one that I used to do all the time was Wounded Warrior. When I was banking, that was like, I was in the VA section of the bank. And so did a lot of VA loans, and we always would contribute both personally and professionally to Wounded Warrior. So that's another really good one.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
My main source of income is designing PPE for first responders. And some of those contracts are military contracts. So like a lot of the stuff that firemen wear into burning buildings, I designed. And then when COVID hit, we did reusable isolation gowns because there was a shortage of all that. So that's like as close as I can get to, being on the other side of it where you're a service member. So I would just say, thank you so much for your service. And we're America because of you. I don't think you could deny that.
And then, for anybody that might be living under a rock and haven't heard of what's going on with Frayle and new to new to you guys and want to know more or support you guys, where would you send them?
Frayle.bandcamp.com is a good spot. And then our social stuff.
Yeah, I think our Instagram, Frayle_band, is, that's like usually everything starts there. But like Gwyn said, our Bandcamp is our main, where everything, you can get everything, access to everything on Frayle.bandcamp.com.
Nice. Well, guys, I appreciate you taking the time, and us being able to make this happen today and catching up. Definitely want to catch a show when you guys get out playing again. And I've been enjoying the album, so highly recommend everybody. September 23rd?
Yep.
Pick it now. Where will that be available at for people to get?
Bandcamp.
Yeah, our Bandcamp. You can, in the U.S., you would go to our Bandcamp. Our European label, Lay Bare Recordings. You'd want to get it. So I think Europe and Asia would probably be laybarerecordings.com, just because shipping is, easier for her to get to everyone over there.
And if you're in the Cleveland area, come to the show on the 24th at the Grog Shop.
Yep. Playing their 30th anniversary.
Oh, awesome. And then, real quick before I let you guys go, you mind do me a favor and cutting a promo ID for the show?
Sure.
Just introduce yourselves. You're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hi, I'm Gwyn.
And I'm Sean from Frayle, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate your time and catching up. It's a good conversation. Look forward to seeing you.
So much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and have fun tonight with your daughter. That sounds
Yeah.
bad.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.